ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again, Hearts of Iron 4. Today I'm doing something a bit different, I guess. Just talking over recorded footage, basically, of me playing, Hearts of Iron, obviously, as Hungary. I decided, you know what, let me just try out something different. I've been doing that a lot these days. It's basically like a podcast, I guess, where I just talk while I have my gameplay running in the background. I don't know, I felt, you know what, it's gonna be like a chill game. I didn't really talk during the recording, so most of the footage is pretty useless, I have to say. It wasn't particularly difficult to form the Austro-Hungarian Empire either. You know, I go after Austria, and I'd say they might have been actually the most difficult person to destroy in this campaign, because it's basically my shitty troops versus their shitty troops, and just becomes a maneuver game. Oh, they put this troop in here to, you know, block me from moving further, let me just move through here instead, this and that. Just basically sneaking through. I think I just destroyed pretty much one unit in that war. It's still gonna take a while before that war starts, because, you know, this is one of the negatives of starting a Hungary campaign. You always have to, like, wait. Like, a bunch of useless focuses have to be taken before you can actually go to war, or even, like, expand. Which, you know, I guess makes sense, but at least, like, in a major power, you get to do different things. Over here, I basically just queued up civilian factories, 2 or 3 of them, and just waited. Sometimes I took an advisor here and there, and until then, I just waited. I decided to also go for a referendum. I don't know why you would go for anything else, because the way I see it, there's 2 possibilities. Either they accept the referendum, in which case, you know, you just annex them, you get their troops, you don't get to do the Trianon, but you at least get their troops, which is more advantageous to me. Or they refuse and you get a CB, so you still get the same thing as, you know, the attack focus instead. So at least when you demand a referendum, you get a choice, and you can still, in the middle of it, decide, like, you know what, am I gonna annex them or not? Because if they refuse, you just annex them anyway. So, you know, but the advantage of this, at least, you know, look at all this snaking. This is pretty much what happened the entire time during the war. But the advantage of fighting the war is that the Treaty of Trianon pretty much falls away, and you can just get out of disarmed nation and civilian economy, which is what I tried to do. I think I did one of them. I think I did partial mobilization, maybe, if I remember correctly. I didn't have enough PP for the other one, but it didn't matter because the Treaty of Trianon fell away. Look at that, I annexed them. Since it fell away, I can still change it. See, I'm a disarmed nation, but I can switch it over once I get enough political power, which is something I should probably do, considering I have absolutely no manpower whatsoever. I only got like 1%, which is absolutely nothing. What you're supposed to do is do the blood agreement, but there's no point. It's a waste of 70 days, so I never really do it whenever I play as Hungary. And so here we go. There we go. I think that's limited conscription. I stayed at limited conscription for quite a while. Even then, it's not really a lot of manpower. Those cores that you get from this focus in here, Restoration of Austria-Hungary, they're very handy for you, because, you know, you get all the cores. You get a lot of manpower out of it. You get a factory out of it. Still not enough. In order to get, like, a beneficial decision for Bohemia, or Czechoslovakia rather, you need to have, like, a certain amount of strength. So this is why I was, like, pumping out troops bit by bit, because I need a lot of men on the field for them to be like, oh shit, this guy's actually strong, I can't just refuse him. I'll either, you know, accept a closer relationship or just outright get annexed. In my case, you know, they became a puppet, which honestly was so annoying because it took me so long to integrate them properly. But yeah, it's better than nothing, because if they, you know, straight up refuse, you don't get a claim. Well, you do have your claim, but you don't get a CB, so you'll have to fabricate it. And if you were to fabricate, people in the world, mostly the democratic powers, notice it and start guaranteeing them, and you don't feel like fighting a world war this early on. Even though no one can really reach you, I'd still prefer not to. But even then, you know, Romania usually guarantees them, so That's not always fun. So instead, I decided, you know what, let me whittle away at the autonomy of Bohemia and in the meantime continue on. I asked politely for Romania to give my land back. And, they'll do that eventually, I'm sure. It took me quite a while, and these 36 troops are what I've been dealing with the entire campaign pretty much. Only at the very end I get more troops than that. Manpower was the pretty big issue. Oh, there we go, look at that. I got my stuff. But yeah, manpower was a pretty big issue throughout pretty much the entire campaign. It was a lot of difficulties, but then again, I also stayed for unlimited conscription for a long time because I needed a lot of PP to go towards my integration of Bohemia, which even then took a long time. I sent them my convoys, sent them some equipment, started building in them, but the problem is their autonomy is very high. They're just shy of breaking free when you get them as a puppet, so it takes a long ass time because you need to decrease autonomy multiple times. See, they're so close to breaking free. If I were to call them into a war and they actually do a lot of it, a lot of stuff, it would mean that my puppet would have the potential to break free. So at first I never really called them in. It's nice to have them, I guess. I didn't even dare to steal away their troops, because when you get their troops, when you demand they give it over to you to use, they still get autonomy gain from attributing war score, despite the fact that they're not in the war. And so I decided it's not worth the risk. I'm just gonna relax. I'm just gonna do all the war myself, and that's pretty much what I did. Next target was probably gonna be Yugoslavia, but I at that point noticed, Yugoslavia's at war with Italy, at which point I figured, man, I don't feel like sharing the claims. I'm better off just letting one win before moving on to the next one, because at the end of the day, if that happens, I only have to do one war. Otherwise, it's so annoying to have like a race to the finish line so you can get more states. Instead, I just opted to fabricate on everyone that I have claims on, and then wait until they're done. At the beginning, of course, Yugoslavia was looking actually kind of good. They were pushing in slightly into Italy, but Italy had way more troops, despite the fact that they were also fighting France. And they're doing quite well against France, especially considering France only was fighting Italy. They weren't fighting Germany at the same time. Germany was free. Germany went monarchist, in fact. They're not gonna... Well, they're gonna declare war on France at some point, but they weren't there anytime soon. They didn't even have Poland yet. They didn't have anything whatsoever. They didn't even have Memel. So, yeah. In fact, they didn't really help me out when it comes to reuniting me. I did end up, getting closer to them eventually, but they didn't help me out with the event that they take, or the focus that they take, where it's like, make sure that the Central Powers reunite, force monarchism in the old allies, well, in the old Entente, I guess, rather. I never got to really benefit off of it, so instead I just benefited off of them by asking them to join my faction that I created. So yeah, at some point I became the leader. No, I started off as a leader because I created the faction. Yeah, look at that. I'm slowly but surely also lowering the autonomy, but it's, like I said, it's 39 already. It's taking so much time. We're halfway through the campaign. We only did it like once, I think, or maybe twice. I only noticed it once. I'll be real. I'm looking over the footage, sped up, of course, while I'm talking, because it took me like 1.5 hours to do this. There's no way I'm talking for 1.5 hours all by myself. At least not about for the game. I guess I could, if I really wanted to, but I don't think anyone would really be interested. Although I've always had a bit of a desire to do like podcast type of content. Always seems fun, but right now is not the time or the place. Right now, I'm here to watch Yugoslavia get beaten up, getting the claim on Italy as well at this point. they start garrisoning my border, but at this point Yugoslavia is dead. But what I didn't realize at the time is that it wasn't just Yugoslavia, it was also Romania. So even though Yugoslavia got capitulated, it still wasn't done. Romania was being a bit of a poo-poo head. Yeah, as you can see, capitulated, but not done yet. And Romania pushes in, and they got a lot of troops. And none of them are guarding my border. So eventually I thought, you know what, I'll help out Italy, because I don't feel like waiting the entire process all over again, like I did with Yugoslavia, because it took quite a while. So instead I'm going to fabricate on Romania in order to make Romania garrison my border with them, because they're going to be scared, because I do have a claim on Bukovina. Doesn't really help out that much. I'll be real though. It was quite difficult. It didn't really do anything. In fact, it just made sure that the front line was stagnant, because neither side really had any troops to push in properly from either side. So we just like, At first they got pushed back a little bit by Italy, but eventually it re-solidified, and then, you know, Romania ended up controlling one state of Yugoslavia, and it looked absolutely horrific. So at that point, eventually I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna wait too much longer. I'm gonna just start the freaking war. It took me way too long anyway. I don't feel like waiting so long. I just want to go at it like an absolute animal, and take it from there. Is it gonna take much longer? Oh, look at that. I've almost integrated Bohemia a bit quicker into myself. But like I said, it's depressing, the whole integration process. It takes so long, you have to give so much stuff. See, and we're still not done yet. They're on the second to last stage, so we'll have to reintegrate them again. Well, we have to reintegrate them from now on, and then do it one more time before they get annexed. Because, you know, like I said, it took me a long ass time, and I was pumping my resources into them. I was building them up. I was making factories, infrastructure, everything, and they were still like, nah, I'll wait. I got time. And, oh, as you can see, the German Empire did get some land off of Poland. They were kind enough to return it back in turn for a guarantee against the Soviet Union, or just a guarantee in general. But yeah, problem is, I had to beat up Poland as well. So I did it anyway. Luckily, AI is not really that bright, and Germany actually joined me in beating up Poland. But that's, you know, a story for later. Right now, we're pushing to Italy, as you can see. I still haven't called in Bohemia, because I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. I don't want them to get more autonomy. It's taking me long enough as is. As you can see, it's still not at the final stage. It's 1940, middle of 1940 pretty much. It's depressing. It's depressing for sure. But at this point, I just accepted it and said, you know what, let me just focus on Italy itself. Trying to get some encirclements. I only had a few encirclements. For the rest, I just pushed in mainly. In fact, I battle planned it a lot, because it's not that difficult. And we have Germany by our side pretty much. I haven't called them in either yet, but eventually I will. I think I wanted to get the encirclement first before I went in. I only declared war. Have they capitulated France yet? I think I only declared war once France got capitulated, and I figured, you know what, they'll just mostly go through the border of France, keep the Italians occupied, considering now that France capitulated, they'd move all their troops onto my end. But right now, France is still holding on. I don't know. I'm surprised how weak France is in this game, or in Hoi 4 in general. It's against the speed of Germany. I can understand they were quite, you know, laissez-faire about their whole spiel, but against Italy wasn't really a tactical mastermind or anything. They didn't really use proper blitzkrieg tactics, from what I know. It's just a slow push, and let's be real, Italian leadership in World War II era was even worse than the French one. So it took me by surprise, the fact that it took, well, the fact that they capitulated against them. Eventually, you know, I was getting my claims in. I was wanting to revive the empire, but what I didn't realize, for some reason, the final focus in my claims, focus tree, relies on me not having Italy. And since I already pushed into Italy, that focus got cut off for me. So I couldn't get any claims on Jordan, on the Middle East, basically. It was so weird. The fact that it's so confusing. Wouldn't it be the other way around, where they're like, oh, I see you've taken care of Italy. How about you get some claims from the Middle East? But the game was like, no, you have Italy. Don't be greedy, you asshole. Stop it. Oh. I accidentally, paused. There we go. Eventually, though, I managed to capitulate them properly. It took me quite a while. Well, not quite a while. It just took me a lot of waiting, pretty much. And this is where I found out, wait a minute, I can't get that, and I got very confused about it. I was like, make it make sense, but no. It makes sense. Not really, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, if you get your claims, you'd be like a very irredentist and be like, oh yeah, I want more. But I guess in coding language, it does make sense why it didn't really light up anymore, considering I do control Italy. It's just stupid. It's very stupid. Anyway, at this point, I was starting to get very close to the final stage of, getting Bohemia in. I was very happy. All I had to do now was pretty much beat up on Poland, and also beat up on Romania, which shouldn't have been so difficult. I still, as you can see, very much lack manpower. I was also on limited conscription, I think. Only till the very end. Is it limited conscription? Yeah, I think so. Only till like the very end game I started to pump it up again and actually get some manpower. And even then, it wasn't really anything to write home about. The Austrian Empire doesn't really have a lot of population, I guess, compared to Germany, France, Russia, especially China. It's a high minor / low major level of manpower. I think it's slightly less than Italy, I guess. But Italy is like the main power, so maybe it's worse for Italy. That doesn't matter. But as you can see, final stages of integration of Bohemia. I can't overstate how done I was with Bohemia at this point. It's 41, still haven't annexed them. It's absolutely ridiculous. It took me millions of years. What the hell? Game started in 1936. It's been 5 years. We still haven't integrated them. We've beaten up so many other powers. Can't I just break them out and declare war on them? I'd honestly much prefer doing that instead of anything else at this point. Anyway, I think at this point I was starting to fabricate on good old Poland, I think. Yeah, and I also increased my manpower level to extensive conscription. Realized, hey, I'm in a deficit when it comes to guns, and apparently lacking like 50 steel, so I decided to buy it. It is what it is. But yeah, eventually declared war on Poland. I tried to do it all by myself first, but I was like, nah, I guess I just have to call everyone in. And so I did. Called everyone in. Bohemia was fine. Germany got pushed back because they didn't put any troops in there. So instead, I just pushed in myself. I had to take the forefront because I'm obviously the better player compared to Germany. I'm a lot stronger all the time, as you can see. But yeah, I was pushing in. And I wasn't really doing any encirclements. This was just the standard infantry slowly pushing in, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Problem was, at this point, Poland was going really well. I also needed Romania. I do have a claim on them, so after the war with Poland, I will switch over towards Romania. The problem with that is, though, it's difficult. They're in the Allies, so I can't annex them properly. I could annex the land that I wanted off of Poland. I puppeted them even, fed them Lithuania, all the good stuff. But I couldn't annex Romania considering they're in the Allies. I'd have to fight the rest of the Allies. And honestly, it's not going to be worth it. So I just decided, you know what? I'll just get it under control and just figure it out from there. Because I only needed to have it under control. It's not that difficult. So that's what I did instead. Just went in, And that's pretty much it. Sent them more convoys. At this point, it wasn't really helping too much. I was sending them whatever I could find that had remnants of. There's no point in sending them foreign equipment because that doesn't really help with the autonomy. So I'm just sending the few equipments that I've made myself, and then declare war on Romania, which wasn't that difficult either. You know, we did our thing, we came in, and we slowly pushed in. Didn't realize my plan wasn't going, so eventually I activated it, and then I went in again. And like all the other wars, a slow push, but a very steady push. This is the difference between Germany and not Germany. Germany used speed to conquer stuff. I used power to conquer stuff, and it's a lot easier in the long run when you use power to conquer stuff. Because when speed, you obviously don't have the capacity to actually, you know, occupy it properly. But at that point, they, you know, during the peace deal, they became a part of the UK. I was like, ah, shit. Can I ask it off of Germany? I couldn't, because they were like, no, how dare you? I will see you in court. But yeah, at that point, I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give them a bunch of land back off of France, so that they decided, oh, you don't have too much territory for what you contributed, but it didn't work. I gave them a bunch of land, and they're like, no, you still don't. You still have too much. I don't know why, but I mean, it is what it is. So eventually, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. This is it. We've pretty much done everything we have. We are annexing Bohemia. Let me just finish that up real quick, and then just, you know, continue on with my day. Was it difficult? Not really. It was very doable. It's just very time consuming. And, you know, late game, what happens is everyone just joins against you, and so it just becomes a world war. You have to capitulate everyone to actually own the land. So, you know, there's that. At some point, I finally annexed them, and then after I have my proper borders, the Soviet Union's like, you know what, I'm gonna beat you up as well. Give me Poland. And so I started guarding the Polish border. But I at that point I was like, you know what, no, I'm done. This was a nice run, but I have had enough. That's pretty much it. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. Hopefully I'll see you next time, and hopefully you have a nice day. Bye bye.